Welcome back, everybody. It's another episode of Stockton United. I'm your co-host, Chris Angel, here with your host, Lance McHan. Lance McHan.
What's up, buddy? How you doing?
Hey, that's McHan with an H. I like that. I'm doing great. How you doing?
I'm doing good.
I got fired up on our last conversation because we went everywhere.
We were all over the place, yeah.
Yeah, but it was good because it was, it's an origin story, and that always, just open the can and see what's there. So
gives people different buckets of who Lance McHan is.
I know, right? Yeah, and a little teaser for where we can go in the show. So I wanted to follow. You had some great things to say.
Before we kind of dive into that,
okay.
People who are listening,
yeah,
might want to chime in and give some ideas of things that we could touch on and talk about in future shows. So I just want to put that opportunity out there to the audience.
Yeah. Where do you want them to do that?
They can contact me at my. Probably the easiest way is go to my website, lancemchan.com, to the contact me page.
Okay.
They can fill out an email or just give me a call. Have coffee or whatever,
I love that. I think what makes shows effective is participation. Like when people start to have comments, questions, perspectives, like, like absolutely drop. Like if you guys have ideas for what else to cover in the show, like let us know.
Yeah.
lancemchan.com. Okay.
Yeah.
I like it.
Cool.
Well, listen, I want to talk about the power of parenting because last time you dropped some cool knowledge bombs about your thoughts on parenting. Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, mic drop. But I just wanted to explore that with you. Like, you have some unique perspectives about parenting. How would you describe that? What are your perspectives about parenting and kids?
My unique perspective is, and I got this from a buddy of mine. We were talking, and he said the word development, and I'm like, that's what I'm doing. I'm not raising my children. I'm developing them.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like both my kids swim competitively year round. And I was trying to I have them read 30 minutes every day. And the rule to that is they read 30 minutes. They read 3 books of what they want to read, and then they have to read something I want them to read.
Nice.
And that is like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Do they do it? Do they like it?
Yeah. Well, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. And so I was trying to explain to them what I'm trying to do. And so I looked up a story on a coach who was developing his athlete. And so I had to read 3 or 4 to find the one that kind of fit the parallel to what I was trying to do.
Yep.
As far as developing them. And I said, read it. They both read it, and we were sitting at the dinner table, and I'm like, so what do you think? They're like, oh yeah. I go, do you see how your coach is doing that? Yeah. Cause my son, his coach was a little hard on him sometimes. And it's because he sees your potential and you're slacking off.
Yeah.
And you're not swimming as hard as you could. And so I said, as far as parenting, would you say that I'm raising you or I'm developing you? And they both said develop. And I'm like,
oh, right. How old are they?
16. My son's 16 and my daughter's 13. So
that's incredible, dude. What's the book that you found? You said you read 3 and you found one.
It wasn't a book. It was an article.
Sorry. Oh, okay.
Did I say book? I meant article. I was looking at articles on athletes, coaches developing their athletes, trying to correlate the two with parenting so they can understand what I meant.
Yeah.
Moving forward.
Dude, I love that. I love too that you're asking questions. I've noticed, like with my kids, when there's normal dinner time where we're just like not saying much and just eating stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then there's dinner time when I ask a question, and they always like that more. Like I'm like, what are you learning in life, or just stuff that makes them think, right? Like you did. Like
you're developing them. You're a very deep person. That's how we connected.
Yeah.
And so I was like, dang, we see
a
lot of the same things in life. So it's important.
I like that too. I think from as a parent, this is why I like the people listening to this and the conversation that you're facilitating or initiating with this show. As a parent who wants to develop my kids, I only can see what I've thought to see. Like I've only asked the questions to my kids I've thought to ask. And the more that I've never asked my kids the question you just said, like, hey, would you guys say that I'm raising you or developing you? And then let the conversation unfold, right?
Yeah. I'm
And I
interested
think,
to hear that answer.
I know, me too. And I think, do you know, speaking of that, do you know the DISC profile, the DISC behavioral?
I mean, Keller Williams is high on the disc, and
Right. Yeah. That's how I learned about it, was Keller Williams. Yeah. So
but,
I had my kids take it,
mm,
and I taught it to them. I was like, so I taught them all the DIS and C, what they stand for. And then I taught them how to profile people. Right. And my kids are 14 and 12. So I'm like, so like they'll come home and we'll have conversations about like, oh, do you think that friend is a D and I, S and C? Like, and so they're already profiling people at an early age and understanding behavior.
I need to dive into the DISC program.
Yeah.
I had my kids take it a while back, but I think my daughter was too young, and my son, it was probably like 3 years ago.
Right.
So
yeah,
I think they were a little too young to understand the question.
Yeah.
So now would be a good time to dive back into that.
I would agree. I think the conversations get a little richer as they get older. They can understand it basically when they're younger, but now they can start to interpret what's happening around them.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, I have a few theories on children. Like, we should always be able to apologize to our children. You know, teach them humility. Hey, Dad was wrong. I should not have blown up on you. But do you understand why I blew up on you? I asked you 4 times to take out the garbage.
Yeah.
And you're sitting there.
Right.
Well, if you were doing your homework, that'd be different. But you're staring at your phone.
Right.
You know, you say, Dad, I'm doing my homework.
No parent knows what that's like. What do you mean?
Bam! You know.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, I gradually turn up the intensity, and then
right.
You know, I'm like, you know what, I should have not did that. And then
I love that, man. Yeah, I love that.
Being able to tell them you love them. We don't have parenting guides. I mean, there's parenting guides, but there's no rule book, or
there's no course. There's no graduation.
I think more for men. There's nothing geared towards men and how to be a father. So I've had to take my life lessons and things that my dad did with me, and even though I didn't quite understand what he was doing, I'm able to wrap those up in a different package and present it in a more clear and concise way.
Right.
So, you know, being able to tell them you love them, and reading is key. You know, I'm not going to be around, but forever. And I try to teach my kids, my son, how to be a man before he needs to be one.
Right.
And my daughter, how to be a woman.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, you just rattled off like
all kinds of different things,
all sorts of big mic drops that like have so much underneath the surface. And I would guess we could do future episodes on each of them, but give me just a sense of like, when you say like teach your son how to be a man, I'm super interested in what you mean by that, because like, how do you do that?
You know, like, make him watch me change the toilet in the house.
Okay.
Because we have, and as more I learn about human nature, we have mirror neurons, which when your dad would say, son, watch and learn, you know, you're like, right. You're sitting there like irritated, but you watching, even though you're not paying attention, your mind is mirroring those actions. So you're actually watching and learning. Right. So yeah, even my daughter, like, she was in there too. I'm like, hey, they didn't want to change the toilet, but I'm not going to pay somebody $150 to come change my toilet when it's 2 screws and, you know, a couple things. I could do it myself. Right. I want them to know how to do that stuff. Using manners, saying please and thank you, being humble, being kind to people, not being a bully at school.
You know what I hear in all of that, Lance, is you can tell me if it's not what you are saying, but I hear self-awareness. Like, sometimes teaching people just self-awareness allows us to be a better version of ourselves, whether that's a man or a woman. Like, if I'm self-aware as a man, I can be a better version of myself.
Don't be toxic with your masculinity.
What? What'd you say?
Toxic with your masculinity.
Meaning what? Like, what does that mean?
Oh man, it's the buzzword right now.
What, toxic with your masculinity?
Toxic masculinity.
Oh,
being
okay.
Too much, you know, being too over,
too macho, too. Yeah. Well, but the world doesn't need more of that. I think we need less of that a little bit. I think it's good to be
be balanced, you
Be
know.
balanced. There you go. That's the word I
Yeah, be
like. I like
balanced.
balance. Yeah.
You gotta
Yeah.
have, you know, you can't, you gotta have your little pockets of there's
Be
times,
just the right amount of masculinity.
yeah.
Don't be toxic masculinity.
Yeah, we all have that one friend growing up.
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
uh,
Yeah. Dude, I don't know, man. Maybe this is I feel like let's just have this conversation because I feel like
okay.
on the heels of that, there's something about transparency. We said it. I used that word in the first episode and last time, but
Sure.
there's on the heels of toxic masculinity and macho-ness and like that one friend we all have, like so much of that is fronting
Yeah.
out of fear.
The peacock.
Yeah, like that doesn't unite anything. There's no need for that. That doesn't cultivate or develop anyone, whether it's yourself, your family, your kids, your career. Like transparency is where things are evolving to. What, like, for me to be able to trust you. See, the reason why I like you is because I feel like I see you. And when I don't feel like I see you, I can't trust it. I'm like, I don't feel like I know what he's up to.
It's being vulnerable enough to say, this is who I am, and letting people in to see that transparency in your heart and not always, like you say, fronting.
Right.
You know?
Right. It's so powerful, dude. Like what I've noticed in my social posts on Facebook, for example, every time I throw myself under the bus, I get a lot of engagement, right? Because people are like, oh, wow, like what? He threw himself under the bus. That's crazy. And that seems to resonate with people.
Yeah, I know. Like I have this, I started doing these little videos. Like I go out and highlight little businesses, do a little short 30-second commercial.
Yeah.
I've been kind of under the weather, so I haven't been out, and the weather's been kind of bad. And so my brother's like, oh, you flubbed that one, dude. You can't do that. And I'm like, but I'm not perfect. And so one time I went live and I forgot what the location was of where I was going to be. And I was just like, oh my gosh. I was at UOP, the bell's ringing, and I'm like digging in my car for the thing. I'm like, oh, it's here. And, I looked at the thing, when you do it live, you can say discard or keep it.
Right.
I just said, keep it, and people were cracking up, man. People were busting on me for weeks after that. Like, where are you going to be? I'm like, at the stock market, So,
I love that.
People that you're flawed, it connects you to them. You're not shielding, or fronting, like a lot of agents do, and that's a problem in our industry, I believe.
I think so. I think that's a human condition. I think our industry in some weird way, like gets an extra dose of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think it's a human thing where and I feel like we're evolving in humanity. I feel like the conversations are changing, but it's an old habit of protecting ourselves by not being vulnerable. Cause that's a very scary place to be because you don't know who's going to take advantage of you that way. Right. Do you see 8 Mile? Did you see 8 Mile with Eminem?
Oh yeah, long time
with
ago.
Eminem. Yeah, I know, it was a long time ago, right?
Yeah.
But I love it because at the end of the movie, like they're battling and he throws himself under the bus, like he totally punks himself in his own rap. Do you remember this? And then the guy he was battling had nothing to say. The guy was like, how do I punk you now? You just punked yourself.
You just took the wind out of my sail. You took my line when I was headed back. I was gonna punk you, and you just punked yourself.
Yeah. And I think, so that's like, I'm like, there's power, there's not just connection in vulnerability and transparency, right?
Right.
There's power in, and that's the interesting part because most of us want to feel like we have control or power in our life. And sometimes vulnerability feels like the opposite of that. But there's actually, when you tell one on yourself, when you throw yourself under the bus, nobody else can do it. So now the world gets the full you,
Right. And that's part of the process and the development of my kids is trying to show them that that lead by example. Dad's not perfect.
Right.
Trying to develop them. I tell my daughter, because she's so soft spoken, she talks like this all the time. Like, we go to Starbucks, she's like, like, I'm not making your drink. Tell the lady, tell the gentleman there.
Right.
They're making your drink, speak up. And so, like, you don't have to be a boss, but I want you to know how to be one. Trying to,
That's good, man. No, I get that. I think talking that through with them too, like, you know, like you've talked about,
Yeah.
having those conversations lets them process that. So it's not just dad makes me like order my own drinks, you know, it's like,
And they get it. It's
yeah.
surprising because my son
Mm,
the other day, um,
mm.
I was taking him to the doctor and he's like, Dad, you make me mad sometimes. And I'm like, really? And I go, you don't say. He's like,
Yeah.
but I admire you. And he goes, I was
Whoa.
writing about you today and, talking about grit and sticking to and pain.
Wow.
And I was like, really? I go, that's pretty big for you to tell me. He's like,
Mm,
it's easy. You're my dad. I go, no,
mm,
it's hard to tell somebody
mm,
you admire them
mm,
because the evil twin of admiration is envy. And
mm,
so being able to tell somebody else, a man especially, that you admire them
mm,
shows your vulnerability, but also tells that person, like, man, I want to strive to be like you. I don't want to pull you down to where I'm at.
mm.
You know,
Yeah.
I want to go in your direction.
Right.
And
Good.
so I was like, man, you get it. You get what I'm trying to do. And I was
Yeah.
like, well, what do you admire? He's like, well, you did your bodybuilding competition and just sticking to your diet
Mm,
and getting
mm,
up on stage. You
mm-hmm,
had, 100, 200 people staring at you
mm,
and you're in swim trunks
mm-hmm.
and getting up there and people are judging you,
Yeah. Yeah.
so um,
Wow.
just those, and I was just like, I love you, son.
Yeah.
You
Right.
know, I just want to wring your neck sometimes. I go,
Dude,
but that's what we do as parents.
that's the power of parenting. Like going back to your toilet analogy of like mirror neurons, you know, like when
Mhm.
as you so this has beautiful full circle because, you know, as we live as parents transparently and
Right.
vulnerably, and we fess up to the places we don't get it right, and we say we're sorry when we mess it up, and
Absolutely.
we live it out in front of them. Through mirror neurons and we're just watching, like they pick it up, they pick up the lessons, you know.
I hope so, man. I hope so.
They,
She,
yeah, but they already, you can tell, like they already
but they,
are.
I take people say your kids are the most well behaved. I'm like, you gotta try living with them. But that's what you want as a
Right,
parent.
of course, of
Last
course.
thing you want to hear is like, oh, little Billy did this. You know,
Right, right.
and even when my kids go, now we see when they see their
Mm,
friends acting
mm,
up, or now I understand why you do what you
right.
do,
Yeah, right, right.
and not necessarily their friends, but other kids at school, and
Yep.
so it's rewarding and painful all at the same time.
So good. When
Um,
I think about Stockton United, when I think about like how does the city come together? You know, it starts. It's not an initiative. It's not a project. It's not a bill that needs to get passed by the city
no,
council,
absolutely not.
right? It starts in you being
Right.
vulnerable and transparent and owning it and feeling the power of vulnerability so that we can all have really honest conversations, because that's what creates change, you know, honest
Yeah,
conversations. And if you're not vulnerable, you're not going to be honest because you're too afraid to be honest or vulnerable, right? So
absolutely. And
yeah, man.
through my bodybuilding process, I met a gentleman. He wanted to buy a home, and he's PTSD, and
Mm,
uh, I could tell he was down. And I'm like, hey, let's go grab some breakfast.
mm,
And he was like, okay. So we had breakfast and we are talking. He's like, yeah, I want to get a job. He gave up his business because health reasons,
mm,
and he's getting through his full disability from the VA. He's getting like 4,000 a month, and
mm.
his wife is making a couple grand a month. And
Wow.
his daughter's 6, and I'm like, why do you want to go to work? Like
Mm,
you're comfortable.
right.
I want to
Right.
buy a house. I go, house is great. That's a great goal,
Mm,
but why? I go,
mm,
your daughter's 6 years old.
mm,
You're gonna miss out on so many moments
mm.
that you're gonna regret it when you're older. I go, what do you do with your daughter? Because he's staying home with her right now.
Yeah.
And uh,
Mm,
he's like, I don't know what to do.
mm,
I go, we don't have, yeah, it's hard as a dad, especially when we don't have role models in our life or
right.
a manual.
Right. Right.
They think,
Yeah.
just like you had a bodybuilding coach,
Mm-hmm.
you're her coach.
Mm,
And I said, read to her, pick her up, read a story, Dr. Seuss, whatever, just 30 minutes, 20 minutes to just read a story. And so later that day, I texted him. I'm like, hey, how's it going? Did you read? He sent me a picture of them reading together at that moment. And
awesome.
yesterday I was talking to him. He said she didn't want to go to school today because she's having so much fun with me. I said,
get out of here.
I said, maybe that's what you've been missing through your whole therapy is you're not connected. You're connected with your wife, but you're not connecting with your daughter for some reason. Like you feel like you should be doing more but you're right where you need to be.
So
and he's
good,
like,
man.
he said, nobody's ever given me that advice. And you've just given me the best advice anyone has ever given me. And I'm like, wow, that's powerful.
That is powerful. Dude, that's so good. That's so good.
I'm having breakfast with him tomorrow. It's a little update.
I love it. I love it. And let's wrap there. Because that's just beautiful. I just want that to I just want people to hear that and feel that from here until we're done with this episode. So can we wrap? Can we wrap there?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you guys want to have breakfast with Lance,
Tiffany's.
if you want Lance to take you to breakfast, Lance, where can people go to connect with you if they have real estate needs or they just want to connect with you because you're
probably cool? The best way is my website, lancemchan.com. There's a contact me form or my phone number's on there. So reach out, call, text, email, whatever. I'll get back to you.
Good, I love it. It's McHan is.
I'm sorry, but slap me upside the head when you see me.
Right. Lance will apologize when you slap him.
I will apologize.
It's MCHAN, Lance McHan, MCHAN.com, LanceMcHan.com. Lance, great episode. This is a great start. Episode 1 and 2. I'm super excited for what's to come. Thanks for sharing.
I like the diving deep.
It's good. I like it. All right. Good stuff, Lance. Thanks, man. We'll see you next time.
Have a great day. See you guys, everybody.
Bye.